Welcome to the San Francisco Public Library Commission meeting for September 18th, 2025. The time is 4:30. I'm Margot Schaub, and I serve as the Commission Affairs Analyst. This meeting is being held in person in the main library Corrett Auditorium, and members of the public can observe the meeting using Zoom by following the link in the library's event calendar or by calling 1-877-853-5247 and entering ID number 968-9952-4106. Members of the public who are attending the meeting in person may provide public comment for up to 2 minutes for each discussion item on the agenda. Library commissioners in attendance are President Connie Wolf, Vice President Pete Wong, Commissioners Lopez, Bolander, Jones, and Calhoun.
Thank you very much, and hello and welcome to the September 18th, 2025 meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. We welcome all of you here in Corrett Auditorium, and we also welcome our virtual audience over Zoom. We will start today's meeting with the Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement. The area now known as San Francisco is the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the original peoples of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We recognize that we benefit from living, working, and learning on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. For today's meeting, all of the materials are available on the Library Commission webpage or here in Corrett at the back of the auditorium. Today, we have a total of 5 agenda items, and as always, we are delighted to begin the meeting with general public comment. This is a time for members of the public who are here at Corrett to address the Commission on items of interest to the public that are within the subject jurisdiction of the Commission. If there's a particular topic that you want to discuss that is on the agenda, then you have the opportunity to address it at that time when it's up on the agenda. But for now, it's about general public comment, and it is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me? Oh my gosh. Rufino de Leon, I'm a library patron self. I want to first start off with just acknowledging that I want to thank the Commissioners for holding this event and making it accessible. I do have my cane, which I just dropped, so the accommodation is much appreciated. Recovery. There's a recovery section in the library here, and it's wonderful. I think it's a great addition. I want to submit a pamphlet that I think is very useful. It's from the San Francisco Marin Intergroup, and it has about over 100 resources that you can attend in different places in the city, just in the city, for recovery. So I will submit that. I don't know who to submit it to. You. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Cleanliness. I think this is very important. There's a big difference from pre-COVID and now, and I do see the difference, and it is good. It's a public health matter. And what used to happen was the tables were very sticky, and the chairs, your clothes would stick to the chairs. It was kind of awful. And I think I have to say thank you to the people working at the front where
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Good, good afternoon, Commissioners. Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Libraries of all kinds, and particularly public libraries, are very, very important in a civilized society, both for individuals and for the society at large. That's why we have always supported full and even generous overall funding and independent operation of public libraries in accordance, and this one in particular, in accordance with generally understood goals and ethics. And we'll continue to do so, especially in these difficult times. But we do have, at times, critiqued specific activities and goals and objectives and practices that presumably the Commission has supported or should support, but isn't always carrying out. Privacy is very important for intellectual freedom, and these days, I think, actually for safety. And the library has broken, in many ways, the privacy of people by touting social media, the internet, without any kind of critical view of what that means in terms of risk for patrons. We've called for a privacy audit at times. It's been more than 10 years since there has been any such thing in the library. And there's a range of issues that the library has had, not free and equal for everybody, including the exclusion of a particular group of people by cutting off after hours Wi-Fi, just as one example of not free and equal access. But there's more to be said on that, but I hope you will support the independence of the library as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And library leaders, my name is Emily Garvey, and I am the Executive Director of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. A huge congratulations on the wrap-up of another wildly successful summer stride that I know we will learn more about. Friends started a new tradition this year of bringing a pizza party to the Parkside Bridge this last weekend to celebrate the success and offer congratulations to the community on all their awesome reading over the summer. Also, congratulations to the library on the Imagination Library partnership. It is so exciting to see all of the attention that this awesome new early literacy program is getting, both in the press and from the mayor and the First Lady. Friends is continuing to run capital campaigns to support the renovations of the Mission and Chinatown branch libraries, which we are so excited about the future of. Friends recently also represented at the Friends of the Jackson Park event out in Potrero Hill, the Play at Your Park, sort of bringing library love and spreading the word about Friends and the ability to support public library through our organization. New merch is coming soon, so please keep an eye out for new apparel to represent your library. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment?
Good afternoon, Jason Gibbs, retired librarian. One of the symptoms of retirement is losing track of days, and I'm really sorry I missed the previous library commission because it slipped my mind, because I really would have been excited to hear about what was going on with collections, especially looking at the material and seeing that new nonfiction books are doing very well, and that's after all of our physical books really being decimated by COVID and people having to exclusively use electronic resources. I co-chaired the New Nonfiction Committee for many years, and for those who don't know what nonfiction, it's everything except fiction. So it could be religion, philosophy, sociology, language learning, starting a business, recovery, learning an instrument, learning how to paint. It's a wonderful committee that people in the system just vie to be on because it's just so great to be discussing books for a couple hours. But I want to relate a story. I have to give the city librarian credit that he frequently uses the staircase in the library, so he really sees what's going on. Many previous librarians, city librarians, never did that. But one day I was walking up the stairs with him and I was telling him, we're going to have a new nonfiction committee. And I thought, well, he should be as excited as we are. But his remark was, well, we've got too much nonfiction space in the branch, so we're going to have to do something about that. And it just seemed like a downer to bring to what something that we librarians view in a very positive light. I would have liked to have the city librarian reported how great your work is or something, but I could not do that. But it really is a wonderful service and a committee that people like to be on, and I'm glad to see the people of San Francisco using the collection in that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? Seeing there's no further public comment's closed. I just want to thank all the people who offered their thoughtful comments to start today's meeting, so thank you. We now move to item number 2, which is discussion and possible action to approve the August 21st, 2025 Commission meeting minutes. We will start with public comment before commission discussion on this item. And just as a reminder, please limit your public comment to this item on the agenda. So public comment is now open here in Correct.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Unfortunately, these minutes once again do not give a good representation or summary of what we've said, and specifics that we provide, which make quite a big difference from what's being shown. Particularly when I say things about what the library is doing, for example, with respect to respecting people's privacy and maintaining it, I usually quote somebody like Frances Haugen, for example, who testified 3 years ago at the Senate, a whistleblower from Facebook, whose comments can be summarized roughly by Facebook prioritizes profits over safety. In my general public comment, what I said was not describing that the library continues to tout and use privacy-breaking technology. I said the library should not continue to tout and to patrons and uncritically to tout and even recruit privacy-breaking technologies such as Zoom meetings without an alert to the patrons at the very least. And I specifically said that with respect to privacy, the Trump administration, according to the Wall Street Journal of that very day, said they plan to scrutinize social media for, quote, anti-American ideologies, unquote, when deciding whether to grant visa or green card applications. Those are some of the dangers. There's a lot more to be said with respect to the other comments.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on the September meeting minutes? The August meeting minutes? Seeing there's no further public comment's closed, and I turn this over to the commission for discussion and possible action. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the August commission meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Vice President Huang and a second from Commissioner Lopez to approve the minutes from the August commission meeting.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf.
Aye.
Vice President Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander.
Aye.
Commissioner Calhoun.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we move to item number 3. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action on the library's social media policy. We look forward to a robust presentation and discussion, and I turn it over to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Library staff is bringing a policy discussion to you this evening. As the department seeks to formalize our approach to utilizing social media to advance the library's mission and connect with our diverse communities. You have a draft of the social media policy in your packets, along with an explanatory memo for the item. Our Director of Communications, Jamie Wong, will be taking the lead in this presentation. Jamie?
Hi, yes. Good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me? Fantastic, thank you. Okay, my name is Jamie Wong. I serve as the Director of Communications here at San Francisco Public Library. Sorry, just adjusting. And I am here today to present to you the draft social media policy that we have developed for consideration for your approval. In today's presentation, I will share a short background on how the library's social media accounts have evolved since their inception, goals for this communication tool, highlights of the draft social media policy and why we have developed this documentation, and lastly, our recommended action for you. The library has long established social media accounts. The earliest was Facebook, which we joined in 2008. A year later, we started a Twitter account, now known as X. And in 2013, we joined Instagram. The graph on the right shows the relative growth of these three primary social media channels over the past 4 years, since 2022, in terms of the number of our followers. You can see that while our follower count on our Twitter X accounts has decreased by a small percentage, Facebook has increased by a very small amount, averaging 1.5% per year. Our Instagram followers have increased at a much more rapid rate, at 7.8%, 18%, and 21% per year, respectively. It now has over 53,000 followers. One last note on this slide. In terms of our other accounts, I should also add that SFPL also maintains a presence, though not as active, on LinkedIn, Nextdoor, and YouTube. This is our very first Instagram post from 2013. You can see appropriately that someone declared, "We live here." Back then, social media was more of a one-way communication platform. We played around with still photography, used fun filters, in general, just used social media to share tidbits about the library. You can see that we got 6 likes and no comments on this first post. Well, things have changed. 12 years later, in 2025, our social media is a two-way communication tool and a way to engage and inform both library patrons and non-patrons alike about our offerings and resources. It's a way for us to tell stories about the library using video. This still is taken from our recent Claude the Albino Alligator Storytime at Visitation Valley, at which we hosted our partner, the California Academy of Sciences. In a single day, we received 794 likes and many delighted comments by people who were so happy to see Claude visit a story time at a local library branch. Today, social media is just one of the many ways that we promote our resources and events at the library. There are 2 key goals of our social media strategy. One is brand building. We aim to surprise and delight people by sharing a sense of humor in our videos and our posts. The general public doesn't necessarily expect what would seem to be a traditionally stodgy, highbrow institution to be fun and fresh, but we are, and it's important that we share that identity. The Instagram reel on the left, which simply messages that library staff likes to give book recommendations, received 172,000 views and 7,700 likes. Second, our presence on social media supports our Vision 2030 strategic priorities. On our platforms, we are literacy champions, sharing book recommendations and author events. It allows us to be community catalyzers by building bridges in our audience and allowing them a way to connect with us. We can be thoughtful navigators and resource providers, letting people know about the many opportunities available for free at the library. And we can use the platform to be cultural amplifiers. You can see a screenshot here of the upcoming Living Tattoo Traditions American Irizumi exhibit that's opening on October 2nd and is already getting a ton of buzz among this community. I hope you got to enjoy some of the art on the walls as you were walking in today. It's going to be amazing. One of our Instagram collaborations with the curator of this exhibit has already received 108,000 views. We see our audience growing. With that growing audience and social media platforms' changes to their content moderation policies, the library's social media accounts have seen an uptick in comments that are factually incorrect, that encourage violence, and that promote discrimination. As one of the core values laid out in Vision 2030, well-being has been prioritized to create a safe, respectful, and supportive environment. This commitment extends to patrons and library staff in order to proactively address this kind of harmful, negative content. The draft social media policy has 3 parts. It, number 1, defines the role our social media accounts play in fulfilling the library's mission to connect our diverse communities to learning, opportunities, and each other. Number 2, it sets forth expectations or community standards about civil discourse and public forums by defining types of content that will not be permitted on social media accounts. And number 3, lastly, it describes the process for removing content that violates these community standards. Library staff developed the draft social media policy with community standards that mirror other San Francisco city departments, namely the SF Police Department and the SF Fire Department. We view this consistency as an important factor in setting forth expectations about civil discourse in municipal public forums. We welcome the input and feedback of the Library Commission regarding this draft policy and appreciate your consideration of taking formal action to adopt the social media policy. And lastly, I would love to mention that the vast majority of the responses to our posts are full of love and appreciation for the library. We get thousands of likes and views on our most popular content. This springtime post featuring our Golden Gate Valley branch received comments such as beautiful, legendary spot, and my favorite SF library. Thank you for the time and attention on this today.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for such a great presentation. Before we turn this over for committee discussion and possible action, we will open it up to public comment here to the people here in Koret Auditorium. So public comment is now open.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. This is a very limited policy. It's not at all what I am talking about when I talk about social media at the library that's available for patrons in every computer. It's just the library's public relations or publicity. I'm troubled, first of all, by the idea that the library of all places would set out a whole long list of ways that the expression of people using this, what the rules are for how they have to express themselves. And in particular, the method is completely autocratic, no notice, completely at the discretion of a so-called communications director who can remove at any time, according to that person's sole judgment, can remove content. And I don't know that that's actually discourse as a very structured kind of and controlled kind of a thing. There's no review, there's no appeal listed in the procedure, and there's no publicity at all about even the fact that somebody's content has been removed or notification to them that it has been removed. Even the privacy-breaking Bibliocommons has procedures that include certain processes that allow for notification and review and so on and so forth of comments that are removed. So I think it's a very inappropriate process. Some of the rules seem reasonable, but the controls are autocratic and...
Thank you very much. Any further public comment?
Just wanted to let Jamie know that I appreciated her presentation. I learned a few things too. And I would have been interested to learn more about the process of kind of monitoring the comments, because it is a jungle out there. And I think that following the guidelines of the police and fire is a good baseline to go with. So it would be interesting just to know how much goes into the monitoring of the social web. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
My name is Ruben. I work at the Ocean View branch, an officer with SCIU 1021, our library chapter. Thank you for such a great presentation. My question when I was sitting there was around privacy standards in terms of the use of images of our workers. Claude is very popular, so that's very clear, as well as the CAT library card. Library staff do a lot of the promotional pieces, and I was just concerned or curious about when it set forth expectations for community standards, how does that speak to privacy? So commissioners, so you're aware, whenever there's a program, there's a little piece on the wall that says that if you're participating in this program, you're complying with the capture of their image, of one's image. I hope that makes sense. So like if I'm in a program and I'm enjoying it and I'm a parent or whatever, if they capture your image, it's like that might be used, right? So I think for library staff as well, privacy is a real concern. I'm kind of slow in certain things as far as data mining and those type of things, but I'm catching up. So that was something just maybe to speak to how does privacy work as far as setting forth expectation or community standards. I understand it's a draft policy. The last thing I want to say is every month we have our library, labor meets with management where we have a meeting, and we always have a standing item of sharing things. So maybe.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Seeing that there's no further public comment's now closed. I'd just like to begin by just thanking you, Jamie, for a very thorough presentation that clearly was the tip of the iceberg, that there was clearly a lot of thought and research done by you and a team, so I just want to thank you. I think what probably should happen is we should open it up for comments and discussion, and then depending on how it fares, then we'll bring it to a commission vote. So if there are any comments or questions that any of the commissioners have for Jamie or for Michael. I know we've all had a chance to review this in detail. Commissioner Calhoun, did you want to say something?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you. It's really difficult work. It's almost like trying to put the genie back in the bottle, right? Social media is what it is, and it's also evolving rapidly. So I guess my first question is, can you make sure I'm understanding exactly what we're talking about here? This is a content moderation policy. There are many other things that social media policies could do, but am I picking up that this is really a way for you and your team to moderate the comments that are received on social media?
Thank you for the clarifying question, and the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bolander.
Thanks for the presentation. Wow, Mike's hot today. Just a couple questions about how much time does staff spend moderating comments? And if you could give us an idea of percentage of comments that would fall underneath this policy in general. Just so we get an idea of how, like, what we're talking about. Is it like every day some knucklehead says something stupid, or is it more like once in a blue moon? So this is something we'd have to consider.
That's a great question. On the spectrum, I would say it's more the latter than the former. It's more rare than not.
Okay.
By and large, the comments that we received on our social media are pertinent. They're helpful additions to the discourse. It's a conversation. And it's just certain times that there are posts that might pick up a lot of steam and receive a lot of comments that might be addressed by this. So it's actually, that's a great question, and I don't know if I have a solid answer for you, because it might be that on some days we're reading through the comments and that's our typical practice. It's, we might be responding to a question or liking someone's comment, and that's pretty straightforward. It's not a lot of time. And then there's some days where there's some periods in which if a post picks up steam, that we do actually have to sink some time into like looking at the comments and reading them through.
And I'm assuming it's the topic of the post is usually probably a good indicator if there's going to be some controversy, or is it just some random, unhinged, out of control, just loves to be a troll?
It's usually more of the former. We have received some comments in response to some of our posts that have promoted our Hormel LGBTQIA Center posts.
Right.
And those can have, I don't think they're necessarily localized responses, but we just can pick up a lot of different comments on those.
Right. And this is in alignment also with our policy of someone actually saying something in person to staff, which is unacceptable, of course. So this is just consistent policy with, if you were physically in front of me saying something, that would be, we'd love to be able to moderate you, but we would do other proper procedure. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. We thought about this in line with our patron code of conduct too.
Okay. So as long as it's kind of consistent, and it's consistent with general practices within the city. So we're not going out on a limb here. Like, we're not draconian. We're not, just gonna no, you don't like us. It doesn't matter.
Do you think the city would let us do that?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen weirder things here. Come on. We all know we live in the bubble. Anyway, so never mind. We will not talk about that. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason is that I'm bringing this up is that even though it may be rare for someone to have a poorly constructed, I will say poorly constructed comment, because I would give stricter words if we weren't in public, that it does affect the staff and people that read it. If it's just some trolling, some doxing, some extremely inappropriate, whatever, dumb comment, that even though it may be rare, it can impact people more so, because we all tend to negative, we obviously over rotate on that. But I just want to kind of get the frame and the context. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions or public comment? Commissioner Jones.
Great job. I'm curious how you're thinking about training your team to kind of prepare for the new policy. Will there be, especially as you maybe onboard new people to your team, what does standardizing so this is more of a black and white and not a gray area in utilizing this policy?
I really appreciate that question. Obviously, we want to be consistent and fair when we apply these standards. Right now, I will say we do have a relatively small team. I don't think this is going to be the decision by one person. We would want to review and make sure, again, that we are being consistent and applying these across the board. So it would be more of a discussion at first. And I think, if we were to train, which, hopefully in the future we might be in that position, we would likely I would think that we would keep sort of a tracker, like a reference guide of what we have done in the past to make sure that we are in line with that. I certainly wouldn't want to, I want to be fair. That's just what I want to say.
And I would just add to that, we have an existing set of staff guidelines for how we manage social media. So we would update that set of staff guidelines in line with the new policy.
That's great. And I love what you're saying of showing examples of things you've done, because I always think it's helpful. Words, guidelines are great, but also examples of how this falls within the policy or not are really helpful as well.
And I would just, if you don't mind, I really appreciate that discussion because it shouldn't be individualized. It needs to be institutional. And it could be that when you're gathering there could be ones that are gray that you ended up not doing and using those as examples as well. I think sometimes you learn more from what you don't select than what you do select, because what you do select is going to be pretty straightforward. It's the gray ones that are going to be the most challenging to determine how to move forward. And so keeping a category of gray of what you decided with those grays, I think will be really important. Okay, Commissioner Lopez.
Hi, Jamie. Great report. Great policy draft. I have some background inquiries. So when we're talking about social media and the accounts, are we talking about how many accounts are we talking? Is there one for the main library and one for the branches? Who monitors the accounts? If we have multiple ones, because I feel that the draft is very thorough and it's something that will benefit. But I also want to get an idea of what are we talking about, like in terms of how many Facebook accounts, how many Instagram accounts, and is it a centralized monitoring group or is it multiple? If you can just give me some background information, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a really good one. So we actually do have centralized social media accounts, Twitter, X, Facebook, and Instagram mainly. We used to have branch Facebook accounts, but we have directed that onto our central account and sort of retired our branch Facebook accounts. So there are really only three main platforms that we would be steadily monitoring. We occasionally will post on LinkedIn. That hasn't seen a lot of issue in the past. So those, I would say that that would be the chief amount of the work.
Commissioner Calhoun.
One little detail. Is this going to, if the policy is enacted as written, is it go forward only, or are you going to do a retrospective analysis of your posts?
I think we can only apply it going forward. As in, you mean on future posts, or would we be applying it to past posts?
Right, so you've decided that so the policy is go forward only?
I would need to check, but I think that we can only apply it going forward because it wasn't in place. Because this is this would be a public document. We would want to make sure it was available on our website and linked on our social media accounts so that people were aware of our community standards. I don't know, but I wouldn't think that we could go back and start going through all of our past posts and comments to see what we could remove.
I would just interject that my understanding is this policy would apply to comments on past posts. So new content effectively.
An old post, new comment policy applies, but old posts with comments that may have otherwise been moderated under the new policy are unchanged.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And we can double check that with our legal counsel.
I don't know if it's germane to the policy or not. It's just back to the how much work are you biting off here?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think it would be useful to make sure the city attorney's office directs you accordingly. Any further commission comment? I think this has been a really robust and wonderful conversation. I really appreciate everybody's questions and clarity about what this is and what it isn't, and how it will move forward. I'm getting the sense from just the level of comments and the really wonderful responses and very informative responses that I think we should put this forward to a vote. So I'm just wondering if there is somebody on the commission who'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
And do we have someone who would like to second?
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bolander and a second from Commissioner Jones to approve the social media policy that was presented here today.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf?
Aye.
Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Commissioner Bolander?
Aye.
Commissioner Calhoun?
How do I do this? I don't think that there's an open issue that isn't resolved, which is the moderation of new posts or new comments on old posts, and whether or not this is go forward only. So I don't know that I'm uncomfortable with the motion, is what I'm trying to say. So if we could could I make a new motion to get that resolved as a part of this?
And can you explain how that will change your vote? It feels like that's a detail of, I'm just curious. It feels like it'll either apply only to moving forward, or it'll apply to new or retroactive, but it's still the same policy. So the policy won't change, correct? Or are you asking for the policy? I'm trying to understand the impact of that on this document.
It feels like an open question. It doesn't feel resolved as to whether or not, if we were going to debate or discuss moderating past comments, we should talk about that, because you would have to create work for staff to go and do that. And what I'm hearing is it's not been decided. So we've talked about the impact to staff.
I think the interpretation is that from a policy standpoint, we would leave the enforcement of the policy and the scope of that to the team to decide what is possible or not. It's not necessary. It doesn't seem like it would be us mandating that we would, force the team to go through every old post in the scenario that's, approved and that's the scope of it, to actually go back and audit every single comment as a result. But it does give them, if it turns out that that's like the legal interpretation, it seems like they could if they wanted to, but the decision of whether or not to do that is an administrative matter, not a policy matter.
Got it. So that would never apply. So we're not voting on that, whether or not that shows up in the policy or not. Doesn't matter to us.
Because it's not part of the policy.
Commissioner Calhoun, I just want to reassure you that Vice President Wong is accurate. It would end up being more of an administrative burden. That's really what we will follow up and determine with our deputy city attorney, but the answer to that question wouldn't affect this policy.
Thank you. Aye. Damn it.
Aye.
I'm delighted to say that the new San Francisco Public Library social media policy has been approved unanimously. And in the spirit of Commissioner Calhoun, we would like to know what the result is of this inquiry about how this applies to past posts and comments. And if it does apply to past posts and comments, what is going to be the structure in which you address that and the time frame you address that? So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for shepherding this through. We really appreciate it. It's really great to have an updated policy that the staff can really feel safe and secure, and protected, and also for our patrons as well. So really appreciate this. Thank you. Okay, now we move to item number 4, which is our mostly annual update on talent acquisition and pertaining to updates on the staff of the San Francisco Public Library. City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. Library staff appreciate this opportunity to present an update on our efforts to recruit a diverse and talented workforce to help us accomplish our goals and fulfill our mission. As you know from the budget process, our department invests the majority of our budget annually, fully 2/3 of our operating budget, on the salaries and fringe benefits of our staff. They are literally and figuratively our most valuable asset. As the city continues to navigate overcoming a substantial budget deficit this fiscal year and for future budget cycles, the library has seen our hiring activity slow down as we've adjusted to new directives coming down from the mayor's budget office for prioritizing and justifying requests to fill positions. To date, our requests to fill have yielded favorable results overall, with the majority of our requested positions being approved, with a few positions still awaiting approval for us yet to move forward. All in all, our staffing levels are in very good shape, thanks in large measure to the efforts of our Library Human Resources Division. To shed additional insight into our efforts, Lori Regler, Director of Library HR, is here for this presentation. Lori?
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate those comments. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lori Regler, Director of Human Resources for the library. I appreciate this opportunity to provide an overview of the talent acquisition activities Library HR has performed over the last 2 fiscal years. Here is the agenda for my presentation today. I will first introduce the library's HR division, our role, and the services we provide to the organization. Next, I'll provide an overview of the library's workforce. The majority of the content of this presentation will be centered on HR's talent acquisition work. And finally, I'll highlight some of HR's outreach, recruitment, improvements, and other activities over the past couple of years. This slide provides an overview of the Library Human Resources Division and the various services that we provide. The HR division is one of the library's support services divisions under the Chief Operating Officer, Maureen Singleton. The HR division aims to attract, hire, develop, and support a workforce that provides excellent public service and to foster a culture of inclusion, collaboration, and engagement in support of the library's mission. As you can see from this slide, Library HR provides critical services to the department, including learning and development activities, coordinating training and employee recognition events, assisting with the annual performance plan and appraisal cycle, and developing resources for employees and their supervisors to engage with one another about employee development. We perform employee and labor relations activities, providing advice to managers, supervisors, and employees. We handle EEO matters, leaves, reasonable accommodation requests, and we work with our labor partners. We also administer the department's payroll, processing over 900 timesheets on a weekly basis. We provide front desk services in the HR office and participate in the library's wellness committee to coordinate health and wellness activities for our staff. Finally, we perform talent acquisition activities, finding and hiring the best people for our organization, and I'll spend some time talking about this later in the presentation. There are 17 employees in HR, including yours truly. We currently have 1 vacant position, our Learning and Development Manager, job class 1246. It's a Principal Human Resources Analyst. So this slide provides an overview of the library's workforce. At the end of fiscal year 25, we had approximately 908 active employees, meaning actually working. We had 515 full-time employees, which is 57% of our workforce, and 393 part-time employees, which is 43% of our workforce. So we have quite a number of part-time employees in this department. And again, these numbers reflect active employees and do not reflect vacancies. I will be talking about vacancies later in the presentation. This slide reflects the library's different divisions and where our active employees work in our organization. At the end of FY25, 703, or 77% of our workforce, were within the library's public service divisions. The largest public service division is the branch division, followed by the main, collections and technical services, and then community programs and partnerships. And the breakdowns are reflected on this slide. 205 employees, or 23% of our workforce, are within support divisions, with the largest support division being facilities. That includes security, custodial engineering, and then administration, which includes HR, finance, the city librarian's office, research, strategy, and analytics, and then IT. Once again, these are active employees in our organization. So this slide reflects the different types of jobs employees have in our organization. So every city employee has a civil service job class they've been appointed into, which has defined functions and responsibilities related to knowledge, skills, and abilities. A series of job classes refers to directly related classes that within a job group, and they vary based on their scope and responsibility. There are approximately 84 different job classifications represented at the library, which is quite a lot. As this slide reflects, the majority of our active employees, or approximately 75% of them, are in the 3600 job classification series, which is the library professional and paraprofessional series of classifications. We currently have 254 employees in the professional 3600 job classes. That's reflected on the top bar. And 428 in the paraprofessional job classes in the 3600 series. That's the middle chart. The remaining approximately 25% of our workforce is comprised of 75 different job classifications. We almost couldn't find enough colors to represent the different job classifications reflected here. These positions are in HR, finance, IT, facilities, and management positions, and research strategy and analytics, and some of our administrative staff. These positions are varied in their responsibilities and functions and reflect a wide knowledge base across the organization. Although the numbers of employees in some of these classifications is small, many of these positions serve our entire department, and they also work closely with central entities like the Department of Human Resources, the Controller's Office, and Public Works. So given that the 3600 series comprises approximately 75% of our workforce, this slide demonstrates what those classifications actually are, and which fall under the paraprofessional and the professional categories. The difference between the paraprofessional and professional classes can be described as the paraprofessional employees shelve books and materials, they process library card applications, perform materials maintenance, and answer routine questions. They are required to have a high school diploma and may require college work and library studies, library information technology certificate, or an associate's degree in addition to library work experience the more they progress through the series. Professional employees perform reference work. They classify and maintain library materials and oversee library programs or units in the library. Professionals are required to have an advanced degree or an MLIS. And again, more experience if they progress through the series. There's a lot more to what these employees do. This summary information is from the city's job class specifications, which provides a general description of the different classifications. One benefit to the organization and to our staff is the career ladder that the 3600 series represents. And we see a lot of internal promotion of our own staff through the various job classifications in the series. All job classifications at the library are represented by a collective bargaining agreement between the city and the respective labor unions. There are 10 unions that cover library workers, each with their own collective bargaining agreement. They're all listed here. The vast majority of our workforce is represented by SCIU Local 1021. We also have HR, IT, finance, and administrative staff represented by Local 21. We have a small management team. There's 16 of us represented by MEA, the Municipal Executives Association. The stationary engineers who keep our buildings running are represented by Local 39. IATSE represents media production staff, including those who are making this meeting possible. Thank you. Local 261 covers our laborers who support our operations and facilities. The Craft MOU covers our drivers, represented by Teamsters, Local 853, who deliver materials to our various locations, and also our carpenters, represented by Local 22. IBEW Local 6 represents electricians, and TWU Local 350A covers our curators. So a lot of different unions that we partner with. All right, as we move into the talent acquisition portion of the presentation, I want to spend some time talking about the hiring process and how library HR administers the process in collaboration with the city's Department of Human Resources and also internally with our hiring managers. So DHR is the central HR entity in the city. They issue policies, rules, processes, and guidelines that the library and all other city departments must follow. So they're a very important stakeholder for us. This slide provides an overview of the process, and I'll share some details about each of the 5 phases of the hiring process. So the position approval phase requires that we obtain internal approval from our city librarian in order to fill a vacant position. Once it's approved internally, we then seek additional approvals in the city. Typically, we would first get approval from DHR, and then sometimes we would need to get approval from the mayor's office, depending on the type of position it is. Following the hiring freeze that was announced in January 2025, the approval steps after our internal approval have changed, and we now need to go to the mayor's budget office for approval before DHR will approve positions to be filled. And just to be clear, if we don't have approval to fill the position, we cannot fill the position. So the recruitment phase requires HR to ensure that we follow any reassignment process that might be required. Certain labor contracts require a reassignment. I'm going to talk more about reassignment later. Then we must ensure the job announcement is posted to attract applicants for the position, that a competitive examination is administered to applicants who meet the minimum qualifications. I want to point out here that DHR administers the examinations for our 3600 series positions. So we also rely heavily on DHR to administer those exams for us. Once the exam is administered and scored, an eligible list is developed. From that eligible list, DHR will issue what we call a referral. A referral effectively refers candidates on eligible lists to departments for other talent acquisition activities. Once we receive the referral, so we can't do anything until we receive the referral. Once we receive the referral, we administer a process to contact candidates to see if they're interested in our position. Based on the responses that we receive, we may need to conduct an application review. Some of our positions we can get over 100, sometimes over 200 applicants interested. So we may need to apply some standardized criteria to the applications to arrive at a more manageable pool of candidates to move to the next phase. And that next phase is the interview process. So HR collaborates with hiring managers to develop interview questions, assemble a diverse panel, schedule interviews, and then conduct the interviews. The selection phase of the hiring process includes HR coordinating a reference check, conducting verification to ensure that the employee meets the minimum qualifications, coordinating other testing as required. Sometimes we need medical exams for certain positions, and we then issue a conditional offer of employment, which is contingent upon the candidate passing the fingerprinting and background check. Assuming all of that goes well, the final phase of the hiring process is onboarding. And during this phase, HR will issue the final offer to the selected candidate. If they accept, we coordinate the process for them to sign off on all the documents that effectuate their appointment with the city. We call that appointment processing. Then finally, after all of that, we coordinate a start work date with the employee. Needless to say, the hiring process in the city is complex, and we rely on approvals and activities we need other departments to take, in addition to our own processes and activities. All right. As I mentioned earlier, one critical function of library HR is talent acquisition, and that includes filling vacant positions. Libraries would not function without our talented staff, and we need to make sure our positions are filled so we can provide optimal public service. So it's important to understand our vacancy rate. So the vacancy rate reflects the number of vacant positions as a percentage of our total number of positions. Now I'm talking about budgeted positions, whereas before I was talking about actual people doing jobs. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our budgeted positions. So you can see from this slide that our vacancy rate over the last fiscal years has dropped. It was 14.2% in fiscal year 22, 13.5% in 23, dropped down to 10.1 in fiscal year 24, and continued to drop to an average of 9.8 in fiscal year 25. Since the beginning of fiscal year 25, so that would have been June 2024, our vacancy rate dropped and it was continually dropping to its lowest point in December of 2024, so right before the hiring freeze, to a low of 9.3%. After the hiring freeze, the vacancy rate increased to a high of 10.4% in June of 25, but then dropped back down to 9.7%. Part of, I think, our ability to maintain a low vacancy rate was coming out of the COVID pandemic. The HR team worked very hard to bring that vacancy rate down so low that in the context of the hiring freeze and this new fiscal environment and the complexity of all of our different job classifications and the hiring process, we were still able to maintain a single-digit vacancy rate. And I'm extremely proud of the effort the team put into navigating all the various steps and keeping our vacancy rate so low. So while vacancy rate information is important, it doesn't always reflect the amount of work that occurs in the HR division with respect to talent acquisition activities. So this slide reflects activities that took place in FY 24 and 25. I'm going to talk real briefly here just about the methods we use to fill positions. So there are three main methods. One is the reassignment process that I mentioned, which is when an employee in the same job class as the vacant position completes an internal process to move into a vacancy. It's essentially like a lateral move because they don't change job classes. The second is through an eligible list where an employee gets promoted. They're a current staff member and they get promoted off an eligible list into a job class with a higher salary range. We refer to that as a promotion. And the third way is to use an eligible list to hire someone new to our organization. So they're on the eligible list, not an existing staff, and we hire them. So that's relevant to this slide here because I'm going to talk a little bit about the different activities here. So when we utilize reassignments and promote our staff from within our organization, it provides opportunities for the staff to work in different locations and advance their career when they promote. Although at the same time, when we fill positions this way, doing so creates another vacancy that we then need to fill. So we don't really see a decrease in our vacancy rate when we use these methods to hire. But as this slide demonstrates, over the past 2 fiscal years, we filled a total of 296 positions using the different methods of hiring. We had 140 new hires, a lot of internal movement, which are the reassignments and promotions I just referred to, a total of 156, with 66 promotions and 95 reassignments. We also saw 97 separations, meaning employees leaving our organization due to retirement or other reasons. So we started the fiscal year 24 with 865 employees and ended fiscal year 25 with 908. So that is a net gain of 43 employees. That also just reflects a lot of processing and work and other effort by the HR team. So it's also important to understand how long it takes us to fill our positions so we can make sure we're being as efficient as possible with our own processes internally. We currently measure our average time to hire from the date the position received that internal approval that I mentioned earlier to the date the final offer is accepted by the candidate. So the graph on this slide shows our average time to hire for all positions over the last 4 fiscal years. So it took an average of 170 days to fill in FY22, 213 in FY23, 197 in FY24, and 202 in FY25. So the average time to hire for us peaked at 213 days in FY23 coming out of the pandemic, and has gone down to around 200 days on average since. I also want to note that sometimes, in addition to the complexities with the hiring process that I talked about earlier, there are some things that can skew our time to hire numbers. The number of hires made off eligible lists relative to other recruitment types or ways we fill. The more hires we make off eligible lists, the longer it takes. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And also our time to hire numbers include what we call outlier positions, and these are positions that are difficult to fill and take more than 600 days to fill, and they increase our overall time to hire numbers. Typically, these positions are those that require a special language certification, which are required at certain locations in order to provide service to those communities. And over the years, we have found it challenging sometimes to fill those positions, to find qualified candidates who can pass those exams. So these outliers do affect our time to hire. This graph compares the average time to hire using the different methods that I referred to. Reassignment and using the eligible list. We also included exempt appointments here. Those are appointments that do not need to go through the examination process that I described earlier. So when we fill positions through reassignment, the internal process, we are able to move more quickly. The larger the number of hires made off the eligible list, the longer it takes. And because the 3600 series comprise the majority of our staff, this is the average time to hire for our 3600 series. The graph shows the comparison between the average time to hire reassignment versus the eligible list, and it tracks along with what I was just mentioning. It takes approximately 5 to 6 months longer to fill 3600 series positions using the eligible list, so 5 to 6 months longer. In FY23, it took 173 days longer. In FY24, 170 days longer. And in FY25, 149 days longer. You'll see from this graph that in FY25, it took us a little longer to fill 3,600 positions through reassignment than it did in the prior year and years. We had 3 reassignments that combined took 1,047 days to fill, increasing the average time to hire for reassignments by 28 days. So, but for those positions, our number might have been more like 78. There were complexities related to those positions and why they didn't fill sooner. Again, given the context of the citywide hiring freeze, I'm pleased we were able to keep our vacancy rate low and our time to hire numbers didn't significantly skyrocket during that time. All right, shifting gears a little bit. A key component of talent acquisition is outreach and recruitment. And I'll review some of our strategic efforts to attract candidates to our jobs, focusing in 3 areas: outreach and career fairs, collaborations citywide with DHR and the Office of Racial Equity, and our continuing work with the library's Racial Equity Committee and library experts to expand our recruitment outlets, develop pipelines, and develop strategies to increase and diversify our candidate pools. We utilize various outlets to post our jobs to attract more applicants and more diverse applicants. We use Smart Recruiters, which is the city's job application and applicant tracking system. We post our jobs there, and that system automatically distributes our postings to a variety of job sites, including some major platforms such as Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and LinkedIn. We promote our jobs internally to all staff and across all of our social media channels. We also share our postings with DHR's diversity recruitment team, who then distribute them to their network of community-based organizations and utilize the city's LinkedIn account and other social media platforms. We've participated in 4 career fairs over the past 2 years to promote our jobs. Those career fairs are hosted by other city departments such as Rec Park, and the Public Utilities Commission. We estimate that over the course of those career fairs, there were over 500 people in attendance. In terms of collaboration, we continue to partner with DHR's Diversity Recruitment Working Group and team. We participate in their working group and hear different strategies and opportunities we can take advantage of to publicize our jobs. We also collaborate with the city's Office of Racial Equity and participated in 2 cohorts with ORE. The pipeline cohort, which focused on sharing essential practices for onboarding, supporting and transitioning interns and fellows for future career opportunities with the city. And the affinity cohort, which focused on sharing best practices on establishing and maintaining affinity spaces for staff so they feel heard and valued. And we will continue to participate in other ORE cohorts in the future. Okay. In FY24, Library HR facilitated the Partnerships, Outlets, and Pipelines Working Group, which is an action item in the library's Racial Equity Action Plan in its hiring and recruitment section. So this working group aimed to increase our applicant pools and the diversity of our applicant pools. It was comprised of library subject matter experts and members of our Racial Equity Committee and also HR professionals at the library. The main goals were to identify new outlets and recruitment activities, leverage partnerships, new and existing, and develop pipelines to library careers. The recommendations coming out of that working group are taking a phased approach. So far, we've completed recommendation related to the first goal. We've developed a list of different outlets to use to promote our careers, and we also are promoting the city's new career center. So that opened last year. It's at City Hall. It's where applicants can learn more about job opportunities. The center hosts workshops on topics such as how to build your resume, how to prepare for exams and interviews, and also offers other assistance for applying to city jobs. So we promote the Career Center through our Learning and Development LibHub page and via email to all staff. In the current fiscal year, our focus is shifting to the second and third goals. Specifically, we're working on providing support tools for staff, connecting with partner organizations on how to best promote our jobs within their organizations. And we are also developing new recruitment materials to better advertise our job openings. Okay. I want to share some of our continuous improvement efforts and accomplishments that our HR team has achieved over the past couple years. All of these efforts are intended to strengthen our organization and support our staff. In FY25, we designed and launched a robust HR website on our intranet, LibHub, which centralizes resources and information for employees. We have over 1,000 views so far on our website, and we're hoping to see it increase. But so far, it seems to be a valuable place for staff seeking guidance and tools, and we're receiving very positive feedback. We also continue to hold the annual HR Process Improvement Forum, which brings our HR team together to collaborate and identify any inefficiencies within our own division and develop solutions to streamline our operations. And some of them can be very minor and some of them can be major. And so it's just a nice opportunity for everyone to come up with creative ideas for improvements. We also developed additional performance appraisal tools designed to increase employee engagement with their supervisor and support their career growth. Managers and supervisors can access templates, checklists, and training opportunities through these different toolkits that we developed in HR. And we have added information on advancement opportunities for staff. Also, in the last 2 fiscal years, the library has been recognized multiple times by the city's health services system as part of the Well-Being at Work Spotlight Awards. And some of the recognition we've received were for a Women's Herstory Month panel, which Dolly Goyle participated in. Thank you, Dolly. We had a Sleep for Better Health challenge where our staff were tracking their sleep. We had a Beta Breakers contingent one year and different break time activities that staff are engaging in to bring them together to engage with one another and relax at work and take care of their well-being. We're also working on a LibHub page devoted to staff wellness so that Staff can experience a single location on our intranet for wellness resources and information. Other efforts we have engaged in over the past 2 fiscal years relate to recognizing and celebrating our staff, which is a priority for SFPL. We have annual recognition awards as well as service recognition event once a year. These efforts create opportunities for staff to connect and engage with one another, celebrate their milestones, acknowledge each other, and help create a supportive and inclusive work environment. This past fiscal year, we enhanced our employee recognition efforts to align with and reflect our core values, mission, and strategic priorities. I'm proud to say that the HR team won an award this past year, the Thoughtful Navigator Award, for our work to help ensure everyone has access to resources that they need and that will set them up for success. These are some pictures from the event, which was a lot of fun. And finally, in furtherance of our role as a resource provider to staff, Library HR has been involved in the library's strategic plan. We've been involved in 8 different initiatives and project teams, 3 of which are already completed and 5 that are in progress. These projects highlight our role as a resource provider and employee supporter in the organization. I've mentioned one of them already, the check-in and feedback tools and employee development resources that we've developed. We've expanded learning and development opportunities and are promoting them on our LibPub pages and promoting the city's Career Center. And there are other projects underway that we think will help with employee recognition, identify training opportunities, and ensure that even more resources are available to our staff. So that concludes my presentation. I want to thank everyone for your continued support. I'd also like to thank Michael and Maureen for their support, and just a shout out to a few members of my team who helped me with this presentation. Maria Mastrokyriakis, who's in the audience, Mei Yang, and Jacob Scheinman helped me with this, and I couldn't have done it without them. So thank you, everyone, and I'll be available if you have questions.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lori, for that very thorough and informative presentation. It was really great. Before we open up for discussion at the commission level, public comment is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
I'm Jason Gibbs, a former talent, once acquired but no longer. I wanted to note that your base number for fiscal 22 on that chart was really abnormally high because we had just come through COVID. That was a time when over 500 employees were sent as disaster service workers, and I don't know how many employees declined to be disaster service workers. My first assignment was to be a site monitor in a shelter-in-place hotel for the vulnerable home. And many people did not want to do that, and so they had to use up all their vacation, all their sick pay, and then were separated from the library. So it was a very traumatic time for the workforce, and so that high number is reflected by that. But I would also say, as a disaster service worker, I was also put into the Department of Public Health, and I can't say that I've ever been more appreciated for my work when I was working for the Department of Health. Like, the library never showed that level of appreciation for the work that I did. And I was even involved in interviewing people for the Department of Health, helping them with their talent acquisition. They recognized my abilities. But talking about talent acquisition, I think you have to also realize that you already have talent, and that talent needs to be built and appreciated. And one of my regrets is that 35 years of experience, I reached really the pinnacle of my abilities at the end of my career. And I felt like there was no opportunity to spread that knowledge to other people, because there is so much that I know about this institution, not just about collections or reference, but like who to go to if you need this problem solved, space management, budget management. So I would really be interested more in sort of talent appreciation and using the talent you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rufino de Leon, library patron. As with many office spaces, there's a wide range of ways in which staff engages with the public. And SFPL is no exception to that. This is based on my experience as a library patron. I attend several events through the month, and I just try to observe how people go in and out of the library, and who goes in and out of the library. And I want to just mention the standouts. Shauna Sherman of African American Center, Kevin Darling, the duo Kevin Darling and Christina Mitra of LGBT. The security guard, unfortunately, I don't know his name, but sometimes, for lack of a better description, sometimes he has a rosacea, redness of his cheeks. I don't think he does today. And Paula Heaney. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Very interesting presentation, but there are a couple of things that seem to me to be missing that are important. We heard at an earlier meeting from a retired librarian that morale was low. And I can certainly think that some of the concerns that I have haven't been, might contribute to that, but that's important, but so are the specifics. I didn't see any kind of a budget for training and education. Every place I've worked had pretty generous budgets for that. Many years ago, I requested what's the per capita training and education budget and was told $50 per person at the library. That seemed awfully low. It concerns me that it's clear to me that the librarians very often are not given credit for their terrific professionalism, their knowledge, and their contact with the public. So are they consulted with, for example, new tech implementations or choices? Apparently not. Are they giving sufficient instructions and training for changes in tech and other things? Often not. If you want to give recognition, I certainly think you might ask patrons for what they've specially valued. I've always said the best search engine is a librarian. What about public recognition for the folks, for example, at the Library Commission? I'd particularly be interested in the vacancy rates pre-COVID, which we didn't see. Pre-COVID was presumably normal, and I still often see empty desks or people reassigned to a desk where they're unfamiliar with what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Is that okay? So there are different parts to this presentation. I'm just gathering my thoughts here. Because Lori was speaking to just an overview, but I think we should just dive in a little. So from the labor perspective, the part-time employees, in bargaining, we put across a proposal for more full-time employees. Unfortunately, it met with deaf ears. Our members have to hustle to get additional hours to make ends meet. This is a essential need for our workers, is the opportunity for more full-time positions. 43% of your workforce is part-time. And the effects of that move across in different places. I'm very fortunate to be a supervisor and have been for, I think, close to 15, 16, 17 years. One of the challenges is not having that consistent person who is full-time that we would have available to us. So that's a challenge. I think to broaden it out to the commissioners is one of the other challenges is getting coverage. So imagine if you had a worker who is not there and getting the necessary coverage. So you could do trainings or you could have meetings. So there's a lot of different variables in this process. Maybe I wasn't as eloquent as I could be. I'm just sort of painting a picture to you all to get a sense of it. And I have 17 seconds left. But I just wanted to underline how critical it is for our workforce to have more full-time opportunities and the effects of not having what Lori described as the hiring.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this item? Seeing there's no more public comment, oh.
I didn't catch the presentation, but as I'm hearing comments about training, about appreciation, about full-time, pre-COVID levels and things like that, it's reflective on my own experience from December 4th last year. And I reached out to 1, she's not here, 2, and 3 board members, and nothing. Hadn't heard from you. And I was told he had to speak to you to figure out whether or not he could talk to me. So maybe we're going to get together. I don't know. But all of this is resonating because this has been my experience for the last 9 months. All of that. Wondering about what happened to me on December 4th. I won't say what was said to me because there's women in here, right? So, I still am interested in speaking with you, board member. Are we still on? No? Yes? Can we speak offline after the meeting? Okay. It takes work. It takes listening. It takes, really trying to figure out what's going on, being open, being available, being accessible.
Thank you for everyone's public comment on this item. Is there any further public comment? Seeing that there's no more further public comment's now closed on this item, and we will open it up for commission discussion. Laura, you might want to come up to the podium in case there's questions. I just want to begin by saying thank you very much for this incredibly thorough presentation. It's clear that you plus 16 other members of the HR department work very hard to engage the staff and recruit them and keep them involved and committed. And I really appreciate your clarifying what it is you do as a department versus what is taken care of elsewhere where we don't have any control necessarily in the process with the Department of Human Resources. And also wonderful to see that part of your effort internally is to bring your team together to decide and kind of figure out where can you make more efficiencies. And that was really great to see that there is that reflection and effort to be creative in bringing in the staff. I also just want to add that it's great to see that we are making hires during a hiring freeze. So we may be upset that we have a vacancy rate, but it's kind of great that we have been given the ability to make hires despite what is happening in the rest of the city. So just want to say thank you, and this is a great opportunity to ask any questions or get clarification, and wondering if anybody, Commissioner Bolander.
Thank you so much for the presentation. A couple of questions just about the overall like exits per year. Is it typically 10% per year that leave us, or is that kind of variable? I know COVID and all that is kind of a bit of a.
We did have a lot of exits during COVID. I think people retired or other things. It's been consistent. Like you could almost split in half the number of exits that occurred in 24, and in 25 they were almost the same number. I don't have the percentages off the top of my head, but we haven't seen a huge uptick in exits. Employees tend to stay with our organization for quite some time.
Do you know what the average tenure is offhand?
I don't offhand. No,
Okay.
I don't.
And when do you?
I would just add that years ago, the Department of Human Resources, it was pre-COVID, but they looked at all the departments citywide, and they looked at the median age of the workforce. And our median age was approximately 47. And what they extrapolated from that is that the people that work at the library, they work longer and they retire later. And just anecdotally, we have a service pin ceremony coming up, not this Friday, but the following. There are 2 library employees that will be recognized. One hit a 40-year milestone. Another one is at 41 years. We have a dozen or more staff that are at the 30-year milestone. So I do think that is a testament to the staying power of our workforce. I think our attrition is normal.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have any numbers on library systems that are our size attrition rates? Or, I mean, maybe that's not a good one right now during what's going on, but the reason why I'm asking this is because if you have generally 10% roughly every year leaving us, you have to make that up plus fill vacancies.
But isn't that for 2 years, 97 over 2 years?
Yes, it was. And so if you
It's
split
less
that
than
in
that.
half, that's
Yeah.
about
Okay.
what we
Oh,
saw.
so it's okay. So roughly 5% per year. Okay. And when it comes to part-time employees, I'm assuming there's a reason why we have so many, because I mean, 40%'s a ton. I'm assuming that if I could get some clarity on like why that's the case and kind of
Yes.
how we manage that.
So this is normal for the library industry. I started my career as a part-time library aide, also known as a page or a shelver, 33 years ago. And part-time staff are really the backbone of a public library workforce, covering nights and weekends. You can see we have 227 library pages, 85 library assistants.
So the paraprofessionals are typically the ones that are part-time.
Typically, yes. We do have a number of part-time librarians.
Right.
But this is normal for the library industry. We have not studied attrition, but we have benchmarked ourselves, our staffing against other peer libraries.
Right.
And we have established we are one of the most well-staffed urban libraries in the country.
No, I figured that. The reason why is the majority of the part-time staff and the paraprofessional, I would assume.
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, and then the rest, like the non-3600s, is there any part-time staff there, or is that just?
There are a few.
Right.
I think we have some part-time custodians and also security
Okay.
as well.
So, and because the way I understand the paraprofessional track is this is the entry level, like get your experience, you don't have the master's yet or whatever, however we define the professional. So this is sort of like our entry level.
That's correct. One other caveat I will make about the city and county of San Francisco, all of our part-time workers are salaried, benefited,
Yeah.
and they get full benefits even though they're part-time. So it's not even prorated, and that is not normal in our industry.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, probably not normal for many cities. Okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because, we talk about talent pipeline, developing talent. Obviously, internal promotions and internal is we can do that pretty quick. And we had talked about like outliers of how long it takes and all these testing, and we're kind of not out of our control. Thus, the reason why it takes almost double the time to recruit off the list, right? So, in terms of developing the talent pipeline and developing staff and training, et cetera, I'd be curious to see how we get the paraprofessionals to professional, because that seems to be our most. They already like us and they already want to be here. So, you know what I mean?
I will highlight a successful partnership with our labor partners and an innovation from Lori's unit. We have introduced a dual classification opportunity for paraprofessional staff that are seeking their professional degree.
Right.
And for any permanent part-time staff member that is paraprofessional who has graduated from library school, has their MLIS, they're now able to pick up extra hours as a librarian and earn the higher wage and get that experience while they're waiting to get promoted into a permanent librarian position. So I just want to recognize that.
So overall, we're, in terms of the industry, standard or better. In terms of cities, better, obviously. And majority of our part-time workers are in that entry level / going through to build their career as a librarian.
That's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments? Commissioner Call.
Thank you so much. I guess maybe as one of the new kids at the table, I almost couldn't move past the amount of time it takes.
Yep.
Yeah, so apologies. But I guess maybe just for context, how do you think about that, and where does your organization fit relative to other departments? And then what does a conversation look like when you look at that number and go, what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to get past it as well. I think that I do think that the Department of Human Resources has been making a lot of efforts in their own right to try to streamline the hiring process. They've come up with continuous lists, and a lot of time there's different waiting periods that are built into this whole process. If you don't have an eligible list, you need to wait for one. And DHR now has certain job classifications where there's a continuous list, so it never expires. So they are making some strides, and we try to act on things as quickly as possible. We have some great hiring managers in our organization who also move extremely quickly. I think by and large we do move rather quickly. It's some of these outliers or really difficult to fill positions that contribute to that number. Stationary engineers are very difficult to hire in the city and county of San Francisco. Multiple lists would be available and then be exhausted, and they still couldn't fill all the positions. So we've had positions available for a very long time, still waiting for eligible lists. So it's very challenging, and we're just trying to do our best to chip away at it. And although it is high, the process is complex, and I'm glad that it didn't shoot up dramatically with the hiring freeze. So we're trying to keep it low. And also, we are not, there's mathematics that can be done to make your time to hire look like a shorter period, and we're not doing that. We're trying to be realistic and honest with what our time to hire number is, so that we can identify areas to streamline it where we can within our control.
Thank you. Yeah, no games with the numbers, please. And thank you for that. Yeah, this is eye-opening. And I commiserate on Local 39 because we have them too. They're wonderful, but not easy to find. Back to some of the points that were made earlier, though, about kind of creating these pipelines for folks to become librarians in particular. While there are lots of amazing staff, what are some of the strategies that you're thinking about to actually get people into the page pipeline? Because a lot of times it's hard to find folks. Feels like it's getting hard to find folks who want to be librarians. Let's just say it.
It definitely is. And I think that getting people more interested in library careers, the sooner the better, is something that I would like to work on more. We have some great subject matter experts in our organization that I think can help us do more outreach in schools, more career fairs. I think if we bring some of the subject matter experts to the potential candidate pools and have them speak to their own experience, then that might resonate more with potential applicants. So that's one strategy that I've been thinking about.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lopez.
Hi, Lori. Great presentation. Can you tell us a little bit more about your learning and development areas? You talked about trainings and professional development. And would professional development include, besides conferences and workshops, what other opportunities do the employees have? And what will be the process for them to, take part of it or benefit from that? And as an educator, just curious, are there any programs that do tuition reimbursement or book, I was going to say book loans, but they're the library, so. But any resources that if someone who has been with the library is interested in pursuing, the degree in library studies, can you just elaborate a little bit on
I'll
that?
speak to a couple of those things. So we're really encouraging supervisors and employees to collaborate with one another as part of the annual performance appraisal cycle to develop those learning opportunities and to meet the employees' goals, career goals. And yes, there is a tuition reimbursement program with the City and County of San Francisco. Every bargaining unit I believe, has access to funds where employees can get reimbursed for their training. SEIU has a great program where for a certain number of hours, if those hours coincide with the employee's regular work schedule and also during an educational opportunity they want to take part of, they can be paid for part of that time. So that's a great thing that SEIU negotiated into their contract, and we promote that to all staff. And there's a lot of mandated training that the city requires employees to complete. And then there's training opportunities that are not required, but that employees can request to take part in and get approval by their supervisor. And generally, our supervisors are try to be very flexible to allow folks those training opportunities. In terms of people advancing their career, I think I spoke earlier about the city's career center and how they have a lot of great opportunities, and a lot of those are free to employees or non-employees who want city jobs. So folks can go over there and get trained up as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments, questions? Well, we just want to thank you, Lori. It's always great to have you do the presentation, really get a better understanding of the value that the HR program does to really value the staff in their everyday activity. And as you said, this library is really about the people. And we really want to thank you and your team of 16 for every day coming to work to really helping ensure that every employee has the resources they need to do the great work that they do. So thank you again.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support.
Now we move to item number 5, which is the city librarian's report. So I turn it back to our city librarian, Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. We have a number of reports this evening, and I'm pleased to introduce our first presenter, Dr. Jeannie Austin, a librarian in our Jail and Reentry Services Unit. Dr. Austin is somewhat of a celebrity, a well-respected expert in our field, and the author of the 2021 publication, Library Services and Incarceration, Recognizing Barriers, Strengthening Access. I'll pass this around. This evening, they will be delivering a presentation about our groundbreaking work in San Francisco to serve our justice-involved population as a national model for the industry. Dr. Austin?
Thank you for that gracious introduction, Michael. And thank you, commissioners. I'm really excited to be back here to give an update on the grant and for new commissioners to introduce you to some of the work in my department. I'm Jeannie Austin. I'm a jail and reentry services librarian here in San Francisco. And the Expanding Information Access Grant for Incarcerated People grant is based in my department. I'm going to get it together. I always forget to put my pronouns on a slide there. My pronouns are they, them. So for background, my department was designed in collaboration between my supervisor, Rachel Kennan, and I. In 2017, we started that design, and we really just tried to locate any information about library services that we could find that were focused on incarceration or reentry. We called libraries across the country and had really interesting and engaging conversations with them. But we had to do that because that information was actually really difficult to find. And as we did that, we developed 3 core parts of our services. So those services are our in-jail library services. We bring a big purple book cart into the jails and push it around in the living units. We reach 1,200 to 1,300 of our incarcerated library patrons that are inside the jails on any given day. We also do a reference by mail program where people who are incarcerated can write to us to get authoritative information that also builds trust between our patrons and libraries because we have so many resources that can support people while they're inside and in the process of reentry. When we began our program, we identified services across the library system that were of interest to our patrons inside the San Francisco jails, especially when they're leaving the jails and coming back into the community. So that includes things like business development, literacy, et cetera, as well as story times for children. Since 2018, we've worked across the library system to really infuse that reentry support in our branches, and especially here at the Main. We're really, really grateful to the work that the Bridge is doing to do reentry support, especially in the area of print and digital literacy. Since 2023, our departments worked across city departments to help make sure that people who are incarcerated in the San Francisco jails have access to something that almost no other incarcerated people have, which is a library's e-resources. So people in the jails have access to free tablets, and now they also have access to a closed collection of Hoopla that's specifically made in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department. That means that people used to just have access to print materials, which is incredibly powerful, but they now have access to audiovisual materials. And to briefly just speak to the importance of that work, we've heard from patrons, things like, this is the first time in 5 years I've gotten to choose the music that I'm listening to. So all of that speaks to the national model that we built by bringing information from our community into the work, and now we're building that model by exporting it a little bit. So you can see in this newspaper article that we're really a leader here and we're a national example of doing the work, but we know that we couldn't have done that without our partners and our professional networks. To the issue of incarceration, there isn't, it's here, it's local. We want to reach patrons that can't otherwise get to the library, but it's also a nationwide issue. So there are almost 2 million people who are incarcerated in the US at any given time. But incarceration doesn't just impact the people who are incarcerated. It's also people who are in reentry, it's their families, it's the larger community, and it's all of us in the public. So this is a way that our library is responsive both locally and nationally. The Expanding Information Access for Incarcerated People grant project is, like I said, it's kind of almost what everybody does when they set out to do a thing, which is they realize, oh, this resource wasn't here and we need it. So since 2022, we've been building professional resources, strengthening our networks, and providing foundational materials that can guide the work nationwide. I'll give you some examples of that in just a minute. All of our work is done under the guidance of an advisory committee with an amazing range of expertise, including some formerly incarcerated thought leaders. You can see some of their roles here on this slide. We've received, this is funded by the Mellon Foundation. We've received 3 different rounds of funding. All of the rounds of funding here have passed the accept and expend legislative process, yay, and total over $4 million in grant support. We also work with, they also provide funding for 3 grant-funded positions that are in our department. Those include a librarian, an administrative analyst, and a GIS analyst. I'll show you the map in a second. We work with the American Library Association as a subgrantee on this work, which has been incredibly important because it illustrates that this is not only an issue for individual librarians or librarians in our network, but it's an association-wide issue that needs to be addressed. And we're very, very proud to have met most of our grant deliverables. So actually, I think we can say all. So here's a few examples of how we've done that. We've created a 10-video training series on different topics related to library services and incarceration or reentry, all of the way from how do you start services to very specialized types of services or areas of approach, including like law library services, or how to bring information about incarceration into library and information science classrooms so that we have future generations that are coming out that know that patrons who are incarcerated are library patrons. 9 of the videos in our training series are opened by formerly incarcerated people who speak to the realities of what it's like to get information inside, which can be incredibly difficult. Many carceral facilities do not have any type of general library services. They're only mandated to have meaningful access to the law and to base religious text. So what we're doing is really powerful in part because there's just such a huge need that's created by incarceration. All of the videos are available with captioning in English and in Spanish, and the one video that is not opened by a formerly incarcerated person features one of our advisory committee members who led a project on how to provide meaningful information about Native American people and for Native American people who are inside. We've also shared this work very broadly. We've engaged in a lot of research with our team and across different organizations, including with the Colorado State Library Service. We've released popular publications like you see here in Library Journal, and we've also recently published an academic work that's in Library Quarterly, which is a pretty prestigious journal, so we're very proud. So here's the map. It's beautiful. I hope that this GIF plays. The map is developed to show where library services exist because this was actually one of the most difficult pieces of information for us to get when we were starting our program. We scoured the internet, we looked at news sites, we looked at library systems web pages, but now we can show that there are library services that are happening from libraries outside of carceral facilities that are for people who are incarcerated or in the process of reentry. Each library that's on the map, which will come up in a second, you'll see them represented, is contextualized within statistics about incarceration for each of the states. This is an advocacy tool for librarians as they're building services because they can click and find local statistics that they can then bring to their own administrations or to the carceral facility administrations where they're partnering to say this is a pressing issue and there's something that we can do. We can't take complete credit for this, but we've seen a lot of growth in services since we began this project in 2022. So you can see when we first started, there were 24 libraries that had agreed to be represented on the map. While we can't take credit, what we can say is there has been a growth in services and in services that have now have increased their public presence. So we've gone from 24 libraries on the map to 78, but that doesn't completely represent our professional networks. As part of building connections in our professional networks, we've held 4 different annual events to bring together librarians and information workers who are in this field. Our first event in 2022 had 57 participants and was a half-day event. Our most recent event in 2025 had 110 participants, and that was actually limited by our own capacity to host people. There was more interest in attending than we could accommodate, and it was a 6-hour-long event that brought together both people who are in this work and thought leaders and media makers for conversations and incredibly engaging presentations. And I have some quotes from participants if you'd like me to read any of them. It's very well received. Our most recent aspect of the work that we're building now and actually is happening right now is the Expanding Services Together cohort, which is to support professionals who are early in this work in developing their own services where they're located. And that ranges everywhere from people who are working in archives to public libraries to academic libraries, et cetera. This was an incredibly competitive process to select our cohort members. We had over 200 interest applicants. And we had originally intended for there to be 20 members in the cohort. We increased that number to 30, now 29, in order to accommodate just the amazing skill that cohort applicants brought. And the cohort began on September 7th. We're about a third of the way through. It will result in proposals that all of our cohorts create, all of the cohort members create, on how to actually build new services where they're located or that they can bring to their future sites of employment. And the cohorts will repeat in 2026. I mentioned the American Library Association as our subgrantee on this work, so I want to highlight some of what they've done. Through the grant project, the American Library Association has been able to update the national standards for library services inside of carceral facilities. This is especially important because the last version of the standards for adults was updated in 1992, and I've still seen it at use in prison libraries. The last version of the standards for juvenile detention centers was updated in 1999. So this signals a sea change in where the profession is going and how it understands its patron base. It really aligns with the mission of San Francisco Public Library to create equitable services for our diverse communities. The standards are also relevant directly to us because through collaboration with this, through the grant collaboration, I was the person who wrote the preface for the standards. And this version of the standards is really robust, so it builds out from what previous standards have been to include examples of where services worked. Services at San Francisco Public Library are highlighted as one of the places where it works in the standards. The American Library Association has also brought on a digital literacy fellow who's piloted 4 digital literacy programs specifically for people who are in the process of reentry. Those have happened at libraries across the country in both urban and more and less urban, let's say, environments, and that work will culminate in the publication of a white paper later this year. So our grant team will help to distribute that white paper once it's published, and we're very, very excited about the guidance it will provide for all libraries to do better digital literacy support. I was trying to be very brief, so I'm sure you all have questions. I'm happy to answer them. As we seek sustainability for this project, we're especially thankful to you all for your support for this work, for your support for doing innovative library services, and for your support for our local incarcerated patrons. So thank you very much. And here's our happy grant team also thanking you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Austin. All right, our next presenter this evening is Francisco Cardona, the Latinx Program Manager for our Latinx Affinity Center. And Francisco is going to tell us about Viva, our annual celebration of Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month.
So thank you, Michael, for having me. Thank you for allowing me to present. We put together a very good program. So again, my name is Francisco Cardona. I'm the Latinx Program Manager here at the main library, and I'll be presenting on Viva Latinx Heritage 2025. So our branding this year from the image, we're going to work with the exhibitions teams. As you heard earlier, American Irizumi is going to be opened in October, and we're using an image from them, standing proud, standing tall. Going on to what does Viva do? It's what all librarians do well. We promote literacy, we promote inclusivity, and we promote partnerships. So those are the 3 goals that I'm going to be presenting today on and show you some programs to highlight those things. So our first one in literacy, we're going to have a presentation, John Santos and the Afro Roots of Latin Jazz, a co-sponsorship with the Latinx Center and African American Center on Saturday, December 20th. And at first glance, this doesn't really sound like a literacy program, but because John Santos, 7-time Grammy nominee, is a musician, but he's actually presenting research. So it's a unique opportunity for a musician to research an item and to show the public that you not only hear music, but you can also research music and research history and its origins. So we're really looking forward to having John kick Viva off this Saturday. On Wednesday, September 17th, the magazines and newspaper department are going to host a Zoom tutorial, read newspapers in Spanish. They're going to show how to access databases and newspapers, notably Press Reader, and look at magazines in Spanish, and that's going to be on Zoom. The highlight for our literature campaign is going to be Caro de Robortis and her novel Cantoras. It's going to be part of our on the same page program from September to October. Caro's going to be in conversation with Kate Chatz on Sunday, October 5th here at the main library, and we're going to have hopefully the whole city reading the book. Moving on to inclusivity. We're bringing back Cindy Santamaria. Many of you probably remember her from last year from our Summer Stride. She was our Summer Stride artist. She's going to be presenting workshops on painting big feelings. And we're going to have a concert with La Familia Peña Govea, a local family. They've been here for 3 generations. They sing bilingual songs. And if you've seen them, it's very interactive. People dance, people sing. So that's going to take place Sunday, October 5th at Eureka Valley Branch. And our other goal is community partnerships. We're bringing back Calixto Robles, who we work with often, but this time we decided to pair him with City College's Puente program. The Puente program is a program targeting first-generation college students, and they pair them with a English professor and academic counselor. So we're really hoping this idea of higher learning, literacy meets creativity, put them together and see what happens. They're going to do some screen printing, hopefully get those creative juices flowing with them. That's going to be Wednesday, October 13th at the City College campus, Mission Campus. We're going to have on Sunday, October 1st, we're going to have an all-Spanish virtual workshop. It's going to be on Zoom. We partnered with the Justice and Diversity Center to present a family readiness clinic for mixed status families. So a mixed status family is when one parent is undocumented, their child is born here, and our main concern is what happens if that parent is arrested or is no longer is taken away. What happens to the child? So an attorney from the San Francisco Bar Association and the Justice and Diversity Center will give a presentation on how to prepare for that, and that's going to be all in Spanish. On Sunday, October 19th, we're going to host Dr. Francisco Jimenez. If any of you know him, he's written The Circuit and Breaking Through. These are 2 books that are widely used at San Francisco Unified School District and in City College ESL programs. Dr. Jimenez was a migrant farm worker in the 50s and 60s in Santa Clara Valley, went on to get a PhD and was a professor at Santa Clara University. So I think bringing him to the library, along with 2 producers who helped adapt his work into a short film. We're going to watch the film, and afterwards we're going to have a panel discussion with Dr. Jimenez, the producers, and myself. That's going to be on Sunday, October 19th. This is a special one I wanted to highlight because it's a Salvadoran women-owned business in Central American foodways happening Saturday, October 18th at Excelsior Branch. The Excelsior Branch has got in touch with several women who have restaurants or small businesses in the Excelsior and the Mission during the 70s and 80s and help contribute to the vibrancy that we now know is in those neighborhoods. And they're going to present them at the Excelsior Branch to talk about the history, where they've been, what they've done, and where they're going. So I think it's a unique opportunity for business owners to talk about their contributions to a neighborhood and to the overall history of San Francisco. And lastly, to round out Viva, we're having our Dia de los Muertos intergenerational community of ofrendas. I think this is a great way to end Viva, and for me, it's very personal, very important, because I think it really encapsulates all 3 of the goals of literacy, inclusivity, and community partnership, because people research the family history. People are come together from different neighborhoods, different walks, and partnerships where people are bringing things together to build an ofrenda to the people that they want to honor in their lives. We're having one at Pochoro Branch on Wednesday, October 15th, one at Western Addition Branch on October 30th, and for me, the biggest one is the one at Saturday, November 1st, because it's one that's going to be led by Calixto Robles, and Calixto really emphasizes it's an invitation on his behalf. He really wants to build, and he invites a community to build it with him. So he's not there to teach, he's there to support the community, and he's from Bernal Heights, and he'll be accompanied with La Familia Peña Govea, who's also from Bernal Heights. And for them, it's a very important program, and they reach out to me about, we have to do it again. They've been doing it for 5 years. And so it's a very unique opportunity for the Bernal community. And if you know, there are some very old residents there, old generations are going to Bernal, and very new residents. So having something like this at Bernal is very important, because it's just not a reminder, it's an offering. It's an offering to share the space, and it's offering to share Bernal Library. So if any of you have time on Saturday, November 1st, it's my birthday, come celebrate. We'd love to have you there. And before I end, I just want to say that Viva never ends. We do Viva program all year. Today we just had Alejandro Murguia get in touch with us wanting to do a program at the end of the month. I couldn't highlight it here, but we continue to celebrate Viva all year round. I want to thank you for all your support. If I didn't thank the community partnerships and programs for helping me put together this program, thank you, Jen Wu, and thank you for having me. Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much, Francisco. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Next up, we have a fun report to mark a very special birthday that happened earlier this week. A local celebrity won Claude the albino alligator, and our Chief of Community Programs and Partnerships, Michelle Jeffers, is here to tell you all about it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Commissioners. Good evening. I do have some fun news about Claude, the Cal Academy's unofficial mascot, who is celebrating being 30 years old. In case you didn't know much about Claude, the albino alligator, he actually is pretty famous. He has a Wikipedia page. He has a 24/7 Claude cam focused on his enclosure at the Cal Academy. He now has a library card, and he's the subject of several children's books. So all the things that famous people get, right? Speaking of Claude's books, that's how we got partnered up with this launch of Cal Academy, and Claude's birthday was that they have a new book out called The Curious Color of Claude. It was written by the Academy's creative director, Rhonda Rubenstein, and they wanted to come in and do some special story times at our storytime programs, reading this very cute book about Claude. They came to the Visitation Valley branch, as you can see from the picture here, and then they also came to the main library this week, which was actually the day of Claude's official birthday. And so Claude came, his keepers came, they read the book, and kids got to take their pictures with the giant Claude mascot, which was adorable. And in fact, this Claude, the mascot, is very vibrant and energetic and friendly at our story times, and it's sort of oddly in contrast to the real Claude, which the Cal Academy told me the most common question they get about him is he asleep or is he dead? And that's, of course, because he's an ambush predator, which means that he saves all his energy for hunting and eating. The second most common question they get at the Cal Academy is, if I fall into his enclosure, will he eat me? And the truth is that he's fed once a week on Wednesdays, 6 pounds of rats and fish. And if you fall in on a Wednesday or Thursday, you're probably okay. That's a tip for you. Anyway, back to Claude at the library. In addition to the Claude Storytime visits, several of our branch libraries were part of a 30 location in San Francisco Claude Quest around the city. Plushies were hidden at each location around the Bay Area on Friday, September 5th. Clues were given out on social media. What was hidden in the libraries was a stuffy of Claude, and each stuffed animal came with tickets to Cal Academy, and a few grand prizes were hidden in places, including a membership to the Academy of Sciences or tickets to an exclusive swamp soiree. So it was so nice to have our libraries be the site of these kind of citywide treasure hunt on that day. Our library families were clued in to the prizes again with social media, and they also put a vinyl Claude footprint at the branch so people knew the quest was on at that location. The Claude has been found at all locations, so he's not still there, so don't go looking. Just in case. Okay. And that brings us back to our new limited edition Claude library card. It was celebrating his 30th hatch day. Obviously, he's oviparous. He's hatched from an egg. He's not birthed. Cal Academy staff were the first registrants when we launched the card on Monday at his actual hatch day. That's a picture of the card that you can see up there. Another fun tidbit, and I actually mean tidbit quite literally. Our card features very prominently Claude's right hand, in which he's missing a finger because it was bit off by his former partner, Bonnie, back in 2008. Bonnie got moved away after that. Anyway, I want to thank you for celebrating Claude's Big 3-0 with us, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. All right, in closing today, we want to take a moment to honor none other than our phenomenal Chief Operating Officer, Singleton. You know, it's cliche to say someone is the smartest person in the room, but in fact, Maureen is often the smartest person in the room, and certainly one of the most committed, hardworking, and dedicated employees in the entire city and county of San Francisco. This calendar year, 2025, is only the second year that the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, has recognized individuals for outstanding public service. And we are so very proud that our own Maureen Singleton was nominated by her team and received this well-deserved recognition. GFOA's mission is to advance excellence in public finance and represents more than 20,000 federal, state, provincial, and local finance officials throughout the United States and Canada. This recognition honors individual GFOA members for their dedication to the profession, their colleagues, their organizations, and their communities. As background, Maureen has served the city and county of San Francisco for 25 years, 18 of them here at San Francisco Public Library. She started as a budget analyst for the Board of Supervisors and has worked her way up the ladder to become COO of one of the premier urban libraries in the country. So much administrative work happens in the background and often is like a good defense. It's only noticed when something goes wrong. But special ops, as she has coined it and how she likes to refer to her team, finance, human resources, IT, facilities, and research strategy and analytics are essential to making sure the library can continue providing excellent public service. And Maureen's leadership is essential to not only making all of those disciplines work here at SFPL. Through her vision, she has elevated their strategic relevance and partnership with every other public-facing division in the organization. So congratulations to you, Maureen. Hats off. The entire team salutes you. And that concludes the City Librarian's report. I do want to give you an opportunity if you want to say anything as well.
Sure, I will recognize that my father was just calling me from Ireland. He's always trying to track me down. I wanted to start off, of course, thanking my team for nominating me. It really touches my heart that they see value in what I do and why I do it. My pursuit of public service really started with my first mentor, which was my mother. She was a hospice nurse for over 20 years, and I miss her greatly. She taught me the best thing that you can do is serve the public. And while I had no stomach to be a nurse like my mother, I knew I was really good at math. So I shifted and moved towards public policy, public administration, and I've been blessed to be able to work for the city and county of San Francisco, to work for the amazing library, and I'm completely honored to work with such an amazing group of amazing group of people that put up with my craziness, my inadequacies, my imperfections, but know that my heart is always in the right place to try and do better, be better, and help them all grow. So thank you for the opportunity, and I continue to show up every day because I want to help make a difference for our community, our staff, and my team most of all. So thank you for honoring me.
Well, Once again, the City Librarian's report did not disappoint. It only gets more amazing with every presentation. Before we have questions or comments from the commissioners, we will open it up for public comment. Public comment is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Library users can be reached the most private way by U.S. Postal Service, P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. Thank you very much to the presenters for the program. In intelligence were very, very interesting. I did want to mention that under community partnerships for the Latin programs, the virtual workshop on justice and diversity is going to be a virtual program on Zoom. And while it may be the case that folks who are nervous about stepping out of their house might want to participate, it should be understood that Zoom has had some serious problems with privacy, including privacy promises that they made and then broke. So folks should know that things are recorded, things may be kept, and so on and so forth, that it needs to be clear for folks that it's not the same as going to a meeting where nothing is recorded or saved for eternity. The honor for Maureen of 25 years. I've always found Maureen very, very knowledgeable and willing, generally speaking, to share her knowledge. And was very clear about what was going on. She's always had a really firm grip on what's what and what's real, and communicated it very effectively. I do have a pop-up book that talks about nothing but black dots. Wonderful picture, and I think I'd like to bring that book next time for you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this item? Seeing there's no further public comment's now closed. And just want to remind not that anyone needs reminding, but we began with an incredibly robust, thoughtful, and so inspiring presentation by Dr. Austin on the extraordinary, remarkable program that you have really given birth to and allowed others around the country to learn from you. And having the support from the Mellon is really extraordinary and really speaks to the integrity of the program. We then had the very joyful presentation about Viva from Francesco. Thank you, and excited about all the programs that have happened and are about to happen. And of course, Michelle, ended the presentation with this great discussion about Claude. If you have not met Claude, I highly recommend that you go and meet Claude. Claude is quite special and quite unique. And if you don't go, at least read the book. It's a great story. And you'll learn why the finger was cut off or bitten off. Bitten off. I mean, they're not nice to each other. And finally, Maureen, we're just so honored to be able, it's such a privilege to work with you and learn from you and have your leadership inform what we do. So I just wanted to remind us of this incredible breadth of discussion we had today. And I think if there's any questions, I know Dr. Austin, Francesco, and I'm sure Michelle, if there's a question about Claude, you could answer. But really, Dr. Austin and Francesco, if there are comments or questions from the commission. I think it was just so robust, so impressive. These are moments we feel incredibly proud as commissioners, the kind of effort and care you give to recognizing that every person who physically is in the city and county of San Francisco is considered a library patron. And it doesn't matter where they are housed or unhoused, that they are all welcome. And that is what we all aim to do, is make sure every single person who's physically in this county and this city is seen as important and worthy of the services that you all provide. So it is really a great honor for that. And of course, the kinds of programs that the team and community partnerships present all over the city to engage the community in learning about new ideas and having access is really unprecedented. And every month is something great, but I love that it's always more than a month. So thank you for that. So in that, we will then conclude this portion, item 5, and that actually ends our meeting, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, and we'll see you in October, if not before, at many of the meetings, activities that the staff has created.